Welcome back to another episode, and it's a day after the United Derby, and there's a lot of everything in the air, you know. But anyway, guys, I'm joined today, of course, with my boy Benito. What's good, my guy? What's up? How are you feeling a day after the much anticipated derby?
Um, Man, I feel good because this weekend I felt like I almost died. I had some food
Yeah,
poisoning and I thought my life was about to end.
yeah,
So when I was watching the derby, like there were better things to think about. Like I was thinking about my health at that time. So I managed to watch
mm-hmm.
the game in a little bit of a different perspective. Unlike
Yeah,
a lot of people. So
yeah.
I
You
have a
never
very
really have.
calm, very very
Yeah.
calm mind right now. Like, yeah, man, let's get into it. Let's get into it.
I hear you. I hear you. Fortunately for you, you never
But I
had the
feel good.
energy
I
to
feel good.
get caught up in the emotions, you know. But yeah,
No,
so much to cover. So much to cover today. Like,
yeah,
jeez, man, I don't even know where to start. But basically, I want to cover the starting 11, the substitutes, player positioning, you know, Ten
now,
Hag, the
D.
manager, and also what type of
Before you do that,
conversation should we even be having from here? Yeah.
before you do that, just get whatever it is out of your chest, and we'll take it from there. Because I can see that you're itching. Just let it out. Doesn't have to be a rant,
Yeah.
but just
No,
say
I
what's the first thing that comes into your mind about the result. Everything, like everything into perspective. Look, mind you, it's the day after. Like the pitchforks are out. Everybody's looking for blood. Take all that into consideration. It's like it's actually a good thing that we took time to digest everything that's going on. So with
yeah.
everything that's been going on right now with United and the score and everything, just talk to me,
Yeah.
man.
No, I hear you, but at the same time, like you said, a day has passed. So
Yeah.
watching the match, obviously I was upset, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think it's in the way that most people are thinking that I was upset about. And maybe if we
Yeah.
did this recording immediately afterwards, I would have had a little bit of an explosion of emotions that I needed to vent out, but I'm calm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Good.
honestly, the way I've constructed it is the way I want to narrate it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it will add much more, substance and much more understanding behind everything that I need to say. So this is
All right.
basically what I need to say, but just sort of like in a well constructed manner, so to say.
All
You
right.
understand?
All right.
It's not gonna take away from that feeling, that I want to
Yeah. Yeah.
express. It's not gonna
Yeah.
take anything away from that. Now, looking at the starting 11, and the reason why I'm starting with the starting 11 because that's the
Okay.
first thing, that's put out there before the match starts. That's the first
Yeah.
thing that the fans, engages with to like set themselves up for the game. It sort of gives us an idea of how this game is going to play out. And I think looking at that starting 11, it did not exude any confidence in myself at all, you know. And
Absolutely.
we spoke about certain players having good performances, and we spoke about we shouldn't get it twisted. The manager should not get it twisted. Like the manager should not take isolated games and use that as backing to justify why certain players should be starting in these bigger games, i.e. against Manchester City. So these players in
Mm-hmm.
question is Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans, Scott McTominay, and Marcus Rashford. Now I know we said we're not going to discuss Marcus Rashford because he came out in his
I
press
get it.
conference and basically
But
said, "Look, he's undroppable." You know what I mean? But I'm still gonna
you
bring him
have
up.
to. Yeah, you
I
have to.
have to, exactly. I
Yeah.
have to. And for me, those are very questionable decisions that the manager made. In our football group, one of the guys in the group spoke about Ten Hag has to reward these players for good performances. Otherwise, it stirs up some sort of, you know, animosity in the dressing room. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
that should be the last thing on Ten Hag's mind. And these players should also know and understand the decisions that the manager has to make. The manager should know better. If we, the fans, know better, that Maguire had a good game against Sheffield United and Copenhagen is because those were lesser teams than Man United. We had more ball possession, and we know that those are the games where Harry Maguire thrives because he's given more time on the ball. And I explicitly remember saying this during the match build-up episode that we had that Harry Maguire is going to get exposed in this match because he's not going to be allowed the same time on the ball that he was allowed for Sheffield United and Copenhagen. So thus, he should not start. He should not start. All these players that people have been giving praise to, you know, oh, this player that, and his guys, wake up. You understand? Both Scott McTominay, wake up. They're not gonna get these type of chances when it comes to Man City. You know, we spoke about Derby Day, that anything can happen. I spoke about, look, I get it's Derby Day and anything can happen, but at least in the past, looking at the players that we had available, there was reason to be optimistic, you know,
Yeah.
because we could justify it by saying, okay, our team is decent enough to go toe to toe, not necessarily go out there and outright win it, not us being sure that they're going to win the match, but we could still rely on that whole mystic of Derby Day because the team was adequate enough to go and pull a rabbit out the hat. But this
Mm.
team going into this match was not, given the players that we currently have who are not injured, plus also given the current form of the players, it was almost impossible for us to go and conjure a win, a miracle win during this derby fixture. So yeah, man.
It's,
Um,
it's funny. It's funny you say that, D, because you tipped us to win.
I know, and that's literally what I was going to say. I did tip us to
Yeah,
win,
yeah,
and that was me just it was derby day. You know what I mean? And it
yeah,
was
yeah,
funny
yeah.
because
I absolutely understand.
the whole
Mm,
episode I was bashing the team and that's like I did a 360 at the end. But like
mm.
I said, I just did it because I'm like, it's a derby. I have to back my team,
True,
regardless. You understand what I'm saying? But
true,
at the end of the
true.
day, when the final whistle blew,
Mm.
I wasn't shocked.
You were not
I was
shocked. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just annoyed, by the decisions the manager made. You understand
yeah,
what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I feel Maguire, Evans, Scott McTominay, these players haven't been they shouldn't have been anywhere near the starting
near that
11.
starting lineup.
Either
Yeah.
he should have started Evans or Maguire alongside Varane, you know,
Mm,
but not
mm,
both of them at the same time. And to make it
yeah,
worse, the questions you were asking about what's happening with Mason Mount? Why is he not start? Same thing with Varane. We don't know what's happening. Is Varane injured? Is he ill? Why is he not starting? You understand what I'm saying? And then after the match, we get a response that the reason why he didn't start was because of tactics. You see, and we are scratching our heads like, what tactics? What is this based off? What tactics exactly were you going for? You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, man,
mm.
that's like my thoughts on the starting 11. So I don't know. Tell me, like, what are your thoughts on the starting 11 when you saw that team news being announced before we, jump into the other stuff? Let's start with the starting 11. How do you feel about the starting 11 that Ten Hag put out?
So I was very late to catching everything. Like I saw the starting 11 as they walked out, like as they were doing the ceremony, because I was dragging myself. I wasn't feeling too good. But then
Yeah,
the thing that I noticed immediately was Maguire and Evans. Those are the because they're
mm,
tall, they big guys. I was like, wait, what?
yeah,
Where's Varane? Where's
yeah,
Varane? That's the first question that I asked myself. I saw Scott in there,
yeah,
and I didn't even ask. I didn't because I was like, you know what? If used the right way, Scott could do something. He could.
yeah,
So I was just like, and because he's been playing, like I'm not even about to start questioning the manager on like just like the Rashford situation because for some reason Scott McTominay deserves to start. So when I saw him in there, I just and because Scott McTominay has on occasion, done well in the derby. I mean, okay, I think it's just that one time with that screamer. But I guess when I saw him, I just kind of like imagined him doing something. I don't know, just to back what the manager had done. However, I wasn't happy with him there. You know what I mean? It was like the manager just
yeah,
picked him. So, cool. He's been picking him all this time. So there's a reason why. Maybe Scott McTominay will pull one of his things, and he almost did. He was in those striker positions. He found himself, that one-time shot thing that he had, um, but that was still not enough. And then I looked at the whole defense thing. I was terrified because I was
mm,
like, wait, what? Evans and Maguire against Haaland, Alvarez,
mm,
Grealish, and Foden. Oh, Bernardo Silva. Is this real? Like, I couldn't believe that we went with that. And immediately when the game went on, because Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, people are not very comfortable with them. It kind of like put Dalot off because Dalot was being eaten up on the other side. Lindelof, the same thing that side a bit, but I mean, there was the question about Regulon, but he's not fit. So do you pick somebody who's not fit to play against Man City at home? But he did okay. He did an job because at the end of the day, we got smacked. And that goal that Haaland scored, it was that opening area. I can blame Lindelof. He wasn't there because he was playing at that left back position. But that's just too much. And then, of course, the way he set the team up. I think the manager is I don't want to say this because I don't believe it so, but he's starting to sabotage himself because he's going with this thing of putting players out of position. Because I'm telling you now, Bruno playing out of position doesn't do anything good for us, Manchester United. Whether people want to believe it or not, it is a fact. Bruno playing on the wherever the manager wants him to play because he's Bruno, it doesn't benefit us because then the team is unstable. You look at the first half of that game, Ericsson was struggling. And in my mind, I kept thinking to myself, Ericsson, this is the time for you to back yourself up. You were saying that the team is not balanced. Now you're in the midfield pairing with Amrabat. Bruno's off to the side. They've put Scott McTominay as that number 10. But you're still, where are the legs? What's going on? Then there's just that whole thing of like, okay, Bruno has to now just come along. And Bruno is a very emotional player. I think people need to start understanding that Bruno is just like that. Once things don't work, I don't even know how I can back him up because he wears his heart on his sleeves. It's always going to show how frustrated he is and how he looks. His petulance or whatever it is, it's going to show. And I've been noticing a lot of people going in on Bruno, and I just want them to understand that listen, this thing is bigger than all of us. This is just bigger than what is going on at Manchester United because now blame is being thrown at everybody, more especially the manager. And I'm somebody that backs the manager. Like I'm still saying that we need to remain positive with this manager because I've also noticed that people are comparing him to other managers. And what people are forgetting to understand is every club has got its own situation. Every club has got its own drama. Manchester United happens to be the one club that under the current regime, the current structure, the current whatever you want to call it, the culture of the club, as long as it remains the way it is, there is no manager that can come here and succeed. I am telling you, if we are going to continue the way things are. Now, I know this is now slowly creeping into the conversation about the Glazers, but for some reason, I find it necessary because I know we did discuss me and you, D, and I think we came to an understanding that yes, we can't keep on using the Glazers as as an excuse for what is going on at the club. Now, the way I see it, that's well and good. That's fine. We can't keep on doing that. But then the moment the the shift and the attacks now go on to the manager by himself. Yes, the manager has got his own faults. But what we need to understand that he's going through something with that club. You understand? And everything, we talked about this even in the beginning of the season. We said that this manager is going to go through this period where things are not going to make sense. The club are not going to back him the way he backs him. Because we even talked about Some of these signings, are they the signings that he wants? Are they the signings that he's pushing for? Blah blah blah. Why is he not getting the signings that he wants? All well and good. He didn't get them. He got some. Amrabat, Mason Mount. I, for some reason, still think even Mason Mount. I feel like it's not his signing. I don't know why. I don't know why. I feel like Mason Mount is one of those signings that the club decided that it was an opportunity. Let's get him. And the manager is forced to back this guy for some reason. I don't know why. And then, yeah, and then he came and he's now dealing with all the drama that he's been dealing with on top of everything that is going on. I can tell you right now, Pep Guardiola or Klopp or what's his name, Dizebi, they don't come to Manchester United here and solve the issues, especially with the current crop of players. That club at the moment is just toxic. Everyone, everyone is toxic, and it starts from the top. Now, the reason why I bring this up, saying that we should blame the Glazers and stop focusing on the manager, is because now people are saying the manager needs to go out. We said that this is a cycle. This is something that recurs. We always blame the Glazers, we forget. They give us the things that we think, and then we forget about everything. Then, when the manager stops performing, because remember, even last season, he did a miracle with the squad that we had, even with the drama that he had to deal with. You know, he he overachieved. Now, to build on that momentum, he hasn't really built on that momentum. And people think that, yeah, Manchester United have spent a lot of money, but the truth is he hasn't really gotten the team that he wants. We've talked about him not playing his first team, like full squad since the beginning of the season. You know, the Glazers are the reason why we are in this mess. Not because we lost yesterday. No, that is purely because of the players and the manager. But this hate that is going on to the manager, that is what I'm trying to address here. If people are now trying to look for an scapegoat, it shouldn't be the manager. You tell me one manager that had to deal with the amount of drama and the amount of chaos that Eric Ten Hag has had to deal with. I'll wait. I'll wait, D. And I'm not saying that just to say anything like, nah. And then on top of that, you guys want a manager that is about to be the fastest manager to, like, in our history, to reach 50 wins at Manchester United. The fastest. Now I know, like, right now it doesn't even make sense to people because people want blood. But just think about it. How long has Eric Ten Hag been at United? Have we given him the 2-3 seasons that we gave Ole, that we gave Mourinho? That, okay, obviously Van Gaal didn't get it, but you know what I mean. We haven't. We're already gunning for his throat, and we are not even yet. Like, I don't think we are really, really dead. No, I don't think we are down and out. I still think there's a chance with Manchester United. It's just chaotic. It's just chaotic. Now, the manager's decisions is what now we are going to tackle. Like, that's where we draw the line. This is where now I'm like, okay, Gaffer, there's some things that you have done here that I just don't agree with, and I would like you to address them. However, this thing of people saying Eric Ten Hag out, I do not support it. I am backing the manager 100%. And again, I'm going to again address and ask you people, if we get rid of Eric Ten Hag, who are we bringing in? Who are you bringing in? Are you guys ready for the same bloody cycle? The same mess? A manager having to come in, deal with players that he doesn't like, he doesn't want, because this new manager is going to bench Hoyland, or he's going to bench Dalot. You know what I mean? He's going to bench someone that you are thinking is important for the squad because he wants something else. Because he has a. Are you guys ready for that same cycle? If you are, cool. I'm just not jumping on that board. However, now D, let's jump into the nonsense that our gaffer did for us this game. And
I see you had a lot to get off your chest, my guy. Like you
yeah, I needed
ran
to.
past.
I had to
I
protect the
think
gaffer.
I think
Oh,
what you call this? I think you should have kickstarted the I think you should have kickstarted the episode, my guy. But yeah, we're definitely going to have
No, it's no, I'm glad I got that out. But then now we can tackle the the issue because people are hurt by the 3-0. Let's dive
yeah,
into
no,
it. Let's dive
yeah,
into it.
definitely. We'll jump into an exclusive um we'll jump into an exclusive episode about Ten Hag, but I think right now, let's focus on this on the match reaction.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah,
focus on
yeah. No,
what went
I got a
wrong
little
during this
carried away
match.
there.
No worries, no worries. And that's quite understandable, you know. Given the way the match went, it's like an accumulation of frustration. So it's not even your fault. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
you're just venting out
mm.
games and games of just continuous frustration and continuous poor decision making, that it's almost like you can't say one thing without giving context. You understand? But
Exactly,
I
exactly.
don't even know where to
I'm
take it.
glad you understand that.
I don't even know where to pick it up from because you literally ran through
Okay,
everything. But
I can
let's
do
take it from
something.
here. So basically,
Okay.
yeah, so basically, because we started with starting 11, want to get your thoughts on that and then jump into like, it's basically like build up like from start to end, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I think from there, let's just jump into player positioning because that's something you did mention. So I'll just tackle everything that you mentioned and then we can
yeah,
just isolate it in its own section.
yeah, yeah,
So player positioning. Yeah, I spoke about player positioning. You spoke about Ericsson having balance and you're saying that he had to sort of back himself. Um, I think that was an unfair comment to make towards Ericsson because he was just pointing it out. It's not
because you
really
proved.
like his responsibility for him to go in to. It's not his responsibility to create the balance in the team. He just pointed it
Yes,
out and said
yes.
it's unbalanced. So he can't sort of back it up on the pitch. You understand? And this is City that we're playing against. And looking at the type of player he is now versus the type of player he was then. We can't
Mhm.
expect a lot out of him. 90 minutes, let alone even 45. We're literally talking about the best club in the world right now. I know it's hard for us United fans to agree, for us to wrap our heads around, because of our stubbornness, because of our history, because of our pride. But that's just one thing we need to accept that Man City right now is currently, arguably, the best team in the world, right? And we're basing this off they won Champions League. And if you won the Champions League, that makes you currently the world's best, because that's the biggest stage where all the best teams come together. So until someone comes and wins it, right now City's ranked number one. The way United are
Okay.
playing, we are no way close to them. You understand?
Mm.
So now back to player positioning, so I don't off track too much, right? We had Lindelof playing out of position. We had Bruno Fernandes playing out of position. Scott McTominay again, even though he was playing high up the pitch, it's high up the pitch without direction, and that's the
Without
problem.
direction.
And that's
Mm.
why I have a problem with Scott McTominay starting in these type of games because he can get away with it in the Sheffield United type of games, but there's no way
Yes,
he's gonna get
yes,
away with it in against Man City. He can't be up
yeah.
front with no direction. That's not going to work. You know,
Mm.
Mason Mount was brought in second half. Amrabat coming off the pitch. I don't even know why Amrabat was substituted off because currently he's the only player
Yellow.
we have fit who is who is a natural CDM, who can play in that holding CDM position. Mason Mount
Mm.
can't do that job. You understand? Why was Mason Mount brought in for Amrabat? There's no way he was going to fulfill that responsibility of taking hold of that midfield. And for me personally, that's where I believe we started losing the game, was when we completely killed any sort of structure that we had in this team. It
The
completely
strength.
dilapidated as soon as Amrabat came off the pitch. There was nothing for us. You understand? There was literally nothing for us to hold on to anymore, and then everything went left, right? So the big question here is, right? Why does the and I know obviously it's something that we can't answer. It's just something that we're just gonna theorize about until we get something from the manager. Whether he comes out and says, "I'm just going to start this player because I just want to," or "I started these players because of tactics." All right. Why does he continue to play these players out of position? Because these playing these players out of position is not effective for us. you know. And I think the frustration also comes because he's trying to accommodate these players in his system. And clearly the players that we currently have who are fit and available to start do not fit into this system that he wants to play, you know. And that's what ultimately cost us at the end of the day, especially when we go to like against teams like Man City. You understand? So for me,
Yeah.
that player positioning was just I don't even know what to say about it. Like I know you
Mm.
touched briefly on it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add about this player positioning because for me it just doesn't make any sense at all why these players are
Okay.
continuing to be played out of position.
So this is the one place I just don't agree with the manager. Like he can say whatever he wants, but I don't agree unless there's something bigger, like if there's a bigger picture with Varane. Like because you know one thing, we I don't know if we've ever talked about this on our episode, like on our podcast, or if we talked about it in general. But we talked about Rafael Varane being a professional. He understands his body. If he's not
Yeah,
fit, if he feels anything, he will not get on that pitch. Like that's something that I've
yeah,
noticed during his last days at Real Madrid and as he retired from France and coming to United. He's very professional
mm,
about that. So unless there is something wrong with Varane, which I kind of assume because did Varane come on this game? I don't know because at some point I didn't even like check. Did he come on this game? Varane?
I'll double check now. I'll double check, but
I,
you
I
can
don't think so.
continue. Yeah, he didn't come on.
If he didn't, so if he didn't, then there's something wrong. So it meant that he had to deal with those two defenders. But the excuse that he gave, saying that it is a tactical something something, that just doesn't add up. Because
Mm,
if Varane is fit, he's the best center back between the two. Now, how does it not like? Okay, man. Okay, this is another thing of us like somebody insulting our intelligence. Is there something wrong with us thinking that Varane is not better than Maguire and Evans? Like, are we crazy? No. Now he mentioned. Now, when I watched the game, here's a funny thing, D. You watch the gaffer and you watch his tactics and the stuff that he does. Like throughout the season, there was one. No, no, no. Sorry. Remember the game against Burnley? The one where Evans had a worldie.
yeah.
The tactics that he used in that game were the exact same tactics that he used in this game. People just
Mm,
won't check it out. The two, I don't know if Varane played that game, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Maguire and Evans, and Bruno was playing on the right. Now, if you remember correctly, Evans did one of those disguising passes that found Bruno, and then he ultimately scored the goal. I don't know why.
yeah.
For some reason, as I was watching and I looked at that starting lineup, I was like, this is the only way this guy is doing this because this makes no sense. Maybe he's trying to
Mm,
replicate that move because those guys did talk about it being a move that they do at the on the training ground. They
mm,
mentioned that
mm,
it's something that like because people won't see Bruno coming in just like that goal. He'll just slip in. He's playing on the right. He'll just come in behind the defender. And if Evans is able to ping that ball right until the edge that side, you'll be able to find Bruno and Bruno. So I thought that was what he was trying to do, only for
yeah.
him to come and say that no, it was a tactical thing. And then I'm like, okay, that makes no sense because
Mm,
first of
mm,
all, um, okay, because he was saying that he needed when he gave his excuse, he said he needed Maguire on the right hand side. He said Maguire is stronger there. So I'm assuming because he wanted Maguire on that right hand side, there's no way he could have played Varane on the left hand side because there would be an imbalance. That's the same. That's the only way I could have interpreted it, but it made no
yeah.
sense. It
Mm,
makes no sense. So that is the question mark. The Amrabat substitution that was because of a yellow card. The game was
yeah.
getting hot. He took Amrabat was gonna get another yellow. We've talked
Mm,
about it. He
yeah.
has that thing. He kicks people.
Yeah.
He gets away with things. He already got a yellow card in the first half. He wasn't willing to sacrifice that again because we're gonna get a red, and then it was just going to send us into a very man, imagine we got a red in that game. We are gonna
mm,
receive
mm,
10 because those boys
yeah,
were just going to drop. You check.
yeah,
So he tried to manage that. Scott McTominay playing up front. Look, like you said, bro, these things it works against Sheffield United, Everton, Burnley, Bournemouth. You know, combative teams that they don't have that technical ability, like quality that
yeah,
Man City have. Man City on the ball are just brilliant. They're
yeah,
breathtaking to watch.
yeah,
Scott
mm,
McTominay can't deal with that. He needs to deal with people that are just
exactly,
like him, like just
on his
yeah,
level.
like logs. So yeah. So that putting him there and removing Bruno was a big mistake. In a weird, strange way, I kind of thought that Anthony would have been good, even though I still
Mm,
don't prefer him there. Like I just thought him starting the game to add a little bit of energy in terms of
yeah,
attacking their defenders or their players. I thought maybe that would have given a lot. And then having our Bruno in his proper number 10 position, I think maybe that would have added um, a little bit of energy. But ultimately, decided to bring him in like last last minute. And you saw
mm,
from his body language as he was entering. When I saw him come on, I'm like, this guy is not going to do anything. He's not in this game.
yeah,
And lo and behold, he
yeah,
goes there, almost gets a red card. He starts
exactly,
getting on it. You see, he was already frustrated. The game was already too heated, and the
yeah,
manager needs to start controlling how he substitutes, because I think if there's one thing that we have a problem with the gaffer is his substitutions, whether it is he's substituting them whether he's substituting too late or too early or the wrong substitutions. You know what I mean? And like he
yeah,
doesn't, it's almost like he doesn't read the mood. Like you are losing, you need more energy. He takes time. He wait till last minute to make the change. Those kind of things. Those are the things that have been put into question. But
yeah,
other than that, at this point, like I still think he's still experimenting, chopping and changing. He's just trying to manage his team and his injuries the best way he can. That's how I see it. But
yeah.
maybe you have a different angle to it.
Uh, yeah, I think the only thing I'm gonna add on to that before we move on to substitutes, because I can see you started jumping into it, um, was I believe with the player positioning, um, and this sort of also builds up from the first point that we're talking about starting 11. I think he's just basing it off now. Who is the fittest player? I'm going to
Yeah,
start you, regardless
yeah,
of what type of player they are or how they add value to the team. I think it's purely basing it off fitness. Johnny
yeah,
Evans and Harry Maguire are one of the two center backs throughout their whole careers that have been reliable center backs
yes.
because of their fitness.
Very good point.
They rarely get
Very
injured,
good point.
they're workhorses. Those guys stay fit throughout the whole season. As opposed to looking at players like, Varane, who suffers from injury, and Martinez obviously
Mm,
out, etc. So I think he played
mm,
that game based off, I think that was the tactic, is to put
yeah,
centered defenders who are fit, who are gonna run for 90 minutes. You see, so I
mm,
think that he believed that City were gonna put us under amount of pressure that was gonna require a lot of running around. So I think it was based purely off that. That was the tactic.
yeah.
Put in the most
Okay.
fittest players. Scott McTominay's fit. Like these fans, some of these fans like
And
to say he's got the
hence
legs.
Regulon
You know what
also
I mean?
didn't start, right?
Exactly, because he feels that these guys won't be able to run for 90 minutes. Let me put the ones who will. You understand? And then during the game, I will start pickpocketing players in and out and removing them. But anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is substitutes, right? So we've had a problem with Ten Hag and his substitutes this whole season, and this is not even a this season problem. It's been a last season problem as well. Fortunately for us, we're managing to get the job done. And we're not having so much of an off season as we are having this season. Substitutes, right? And I think substitutes, I want to put it hand in hand with overplaying players, because some of these players have been overplayed. And I think that's why we have so many injuries in the team because he's not rotating. These players are playing Premier League, Carabao, FA. Europa, playing everything. You understand what I mean? And they're not being given a break, regardless of us having a bench, which now ended up resulting in the players being injured. Something I mentioned in the group was that Ten Hag needs to realize that this is the Premier League. This is English. You know what I mean? He's in England now. He's no longer in the Eredivisie. You understand? The competition here is tenfold. The amount of games that you play are tenfold. The intensity at which you play at is tenfold. He can't treat this club like it's Ajax. You know, those guys are not playing at the level that United are playing week in, week out, weekend, etc. You know, the levels are much greater. The expectations are much higher. And if he's gonna continue treating this club like it's Ajax, he's gonna shoot himself in the foot. Ultimately, if he gets sacked, it's gonna be to his own doing and no one else's. Regardless of the external problems, he needs to start thinking like a top elite manager. He needs to adapt to this new system. All the big managers across all the big leagues across Europe are all doing it. You know, ever since we had COVID and it fucked up our football schedule, and now we've just been having so much football crammed into so little time, and so many short breaks in between. That's why they even had to bring in the five substitute thing, which has now become a norm. From the three. A lot of these managers have been employing that tactic into their game. Once you've done your job, you're out the pitch. If you're not doing your job, you're out the pitch. Where there's need for them to rest, the managers are resting them. But we continue to play our players 90 minutes in all competitions and not giving them adequate time to take a break. You mentioned we had substitutes in the last minute. Anthony Martial, Anthony. You understand what I mean? What are they supposed to do in the last 5 minutes of the match? Honestly, we're already three goals down. What are you trying to do bringing in these players in the last minute of the match? I feel like for forward players, it's an insult, and I think that's why Ronaldo got injured, not injured, sorry, upset when Ten Hag wanted to bring him in the last minutes of the game. You know, how can you bring a forward player the last minutes of the game and expect him to get in the game in the last minutes? When you expect to go and chase a equalizer or a win or whatever, it's frustrating. Last minute you bring in defensive players because you want to stabilize whatever current score is out there, whether you're winning, whether you're losing. You know what I mean? When you bring in defense, you bring in defense last minute. You don't bring in attacking last minute. You get what I mean? If you're bringing attacking last minute, maybe you're fighting for a winning goal because the score is tied. You understand what I mean? Or you're fighting for an equalizing goal because the score is 2-1 or 1-0. You get what I'm saying, Ben? But when the game
Mm,
is done, why are you bringing forward players? It's 3-0. Why are you bringing in forward players when there's 5 minutes to go? That's an insult to a striker. You understand what I'm saying? So
mm,
I think the not only the when he makes the substitutes, but who he substitutes has been a huge problem last season, this season, and that's something that he needs to get on top and he needs to correct. Otherwise, it's just going to cause more problems, for us in these upcoming games that we're going to face because it's just going to get more difficult from here. Wednesday, we're playing Newcastle. Newcastle have energy for days. Those guys run up and down that pitch, like bunnies on Duracell. You understand what I'm saying, fam? Our players can't keep up with that pace. Our players are off form right now. He's refusing to start these players who can, you know, run up and down that pitch 90 minutes. Garnacho can do it. Those boys have got legs. If you're talking about legs and talking about direction and talking about a player that can actually put in a shift and add value to the squad, it's players like Garnacho who can go and create chances. It's players like Pelestri. It's players like Maybury. These boys need to start. There's good news. Ahmed is back in training. Hopefully he can also be getting some game time. Kobe Mainu has already started playing football. He's also getting back up to fitness. And the nice thing I like is, I know a lot of people, and I know I mentioned this, and it was so stupid for me to mention this because I'm like, look, these are boys, and I think these senior players at Man United have spoiled our way of thinking because we're like, oh no, he's just back from injury. He has to give time for him to get his fitness. Ben, I'm telling you, these boys, they don't need time. They're already fit. I think back to when I was a youngster, you know. whenever I used to get injured or sprain my ankle or whatever, as soon as I came out from recovery, it never took time for me to get back to like top. You understand what I'm saying? Top fitness, top form of me to do what I could do at 100. Now I'm 30. You know what I mean? I'm not even injured, but I know it's difficult for me just to find a sliver of anything to do if I'm just lazy for 2 weeks to pick myself
Yes.
back up and say, oh, let me try and go do 5K. But when I was younger, fam, I didn't even need to train. I could just wake up one day and run 5K. You understand? And I was nowhere near the elite level of fitness, of athleticism that these boys are at. You understand? These boys recover
It's
quick and are back on the job,
no, no,
So
no.
this whole
See,
thing of us,
okay, sorry.
now this whole thing of us, now look, I get, I don't want to confuse, like, yes, I do understand if you've been through a major injury that it needs time for you to get back to fitness, to your fitness level, because you do not want to continue adding strain or pressure or whatever to those type of injuries, right? But I do know that some type of injuries that once you get over and you're good to go, when you are young, it's not the same comeback long period that we have to wait versus an older player. So these kids are gonna be back to fitness levels very, very soon, and once they're up and running, my guy, it's drop all these nonsense players because right now, what else can we do? These guys have literally proven to us that they can't do it. This current what you call this club is going through a what you call this rebuilding phase. You know what I mean? We might as well treat it like that. We might as well just not like you said, you gave the example of we need to be kicked out of European competitions so we can start from scratch. We might as well think in that mindset, not simply when we're going to competitions we shouldn't challenge. We must just say, look, let's rebuild from scratch with the youngsters, almost like what Arteta is. And I've mentioned this before with Arteta's Arsenal side of young players. We might as well throw in the young players and be like, you guys, I'm building you for the future. You understand? All these old players, you're gonna get sold. All these players who are injured and are off form, they need to get sold. Rashford and them, they need to get. I diverted substitutes,
Yeah,
right? Give
yeah.
me your thoughts on substitutes before I continue diverting. Like, man, it's horrible.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to I actually want. I don't know if it's I'm correcting you, but it's like yes, last season Eric Ten Hag did have a problem with substitutions. He started off bad, but he eventually improved. He got better. He started making the early substitutions, but then yes, this season he's reverted back to that he used to. Like
Mm,
the bad substitution. That is a fact. But he did improve. Now whether or not it's going to improve, it's still yet to be seen. I actually think it will when
mm,
the players come back. There's also another point that I wanted to mention. And it's actually when you were talking, because I was thinking to myself, yes, I know where Manchester United are as a club right now. I even know we're nowhere near City, Arsenal, the guys that are topping the table right now. But I do remember when those teams had significant injuries. As top as they are, when they lost major players in their squad, their performances dipped, and it was very visible. And I can even give you one example, and it was what's his name, um,
Virgil
Van
van
Dijk.
Dijk.
Van Dijk for
Mm,
Liverpool. He was one guy, and Liverpool completely lost their thing. They were not the Liverpool that
mhm,
we know. Now, when you take into context what we have got going on right now with everybody, I'm talking Luke Shaw, I'm talking the Spider, I'm talking Wan Bissaka, I'm talking Varane back, I'm talking Martinez back. That's a full back four that is missing right now. Like a
mm,
foundation, a back four that conceded the least goals last season. You understand? It's a huge miss. Whether people like to believe it or not, it's a fact. It's a myth. Now, how we deal with what's going on right now is obviously the way we're going to go. Unfortunately, we have the likes of Maguire and all that stuff. However, what I just wanted to point out is we are missing people in our squad. Our squad, like people, United fans, it is not ready. This manager, like you said, D, he's picking players that are fit. Imagine having to pick a squad based on a player that can run 10Ks or a player that can run 90 minutes. No quality on the ball, no football brain, nothing. But the guy will
Mm-hmm.
run. You imagine. Now, how do you deal with a situation like that? So in a situation like this, I actually like I'm still hopeful. Like I'm upset with the way the manager's making his changes. And let me just go into this one, the one that you talked about. Gaffer, you've played football yourself. You know how strikers, how forwards behave when they don't get
Mm-hmm.
game time, when they're substituted. You know how they behave. They have a very petulant behavior. They get angry, they get upset, they kick the bottle. They're like, you didn't give me enough time, you didn't do this. A game like Manchester, like the derby, you want to bring in these players 2 minutes or 3 minutes left of the game, and then you want them to add like with that. Like we've said this, if you're trying to make a change in the squad to improve the squad, why not give the player that you're substituting in an opportunity to do it? Don't
Mm-hmm.
make substitutions just because
Mm-hmm.
um it's
Just
almost
so
like
just
he's
so you
just
don't get asked.
yeah
It's like he doesn't want to be asked questions like, why didn't you play Anthony? Like, no, I played him. I substituted him in.
yeah
You know, it's almost
yeah
to avoid that
you see.
question, because then if he doesn't, then it's like, why didn't you start? Why didn't you play him? Why didn't you sub him in?
You see,
It's ridiculous.
don't make pointless substitutions. And you know what, D? Marcus Rashford, I know we said that we're not going to talk about him, but my God, Eric Ten Hag and his boldness and saying that Marcus Rashford is his guy without saying that, and then Marcus going doing that, like not having a good game, like it's not looking good for the gaffer. It's
No.
not. It is not looking for him. It's not looking good. And then you look
Mm,
at the game, I mentioned this to you, and unfortunately, I don't like the statement, but as I was watching the game and Marcus
mm,
Rashford was getting into the right position, but
mm,
Hoyland just seemed to make the wrong decisions.
mm,
You know, now I'm not sitting here and saying that I wish, like, I'm like, yeah, good, nah. But in the most strangest way, I kept on thinking to myself, Rashford, I hope this is a wake up call, or I hope you're tasting a bit of your medicine because you are the kind of player that does this exact same thing that is being done to you. I don't know
mm.
why I kept feeling that. I hope he's taking a lesson from this. Like next time, I'm gonna try and find the guy to be in the same position. Like do this. It
Yeah,
didn't see. It was just off. There was a point where he was supposed to track back. Rah! He didn't track back. I was just watching him, and I'm like, that's 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 Ten Hag's star man. Yay!
yeah.
Go,
That's his boy.
walk back, walk back while we're being attacked. Walk back.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
Other than
mm,
that, bro, like I said, like Eric Ten Hag needs to improve his things, his um
yeah,
his substitutions. But I believe all this chaos and all this confusion and all this is just based on the fact that the team is not stable. He's not very confident with the squad that he has. You know,
yeah,
Mason Mount, I like that is a mystery to me. I think about it all the time. Like, yes, the gaffer said that he wanted Mount, he didn't everything. But did he? Because honestly, if he really understood the culture of Manchester United, he would have known that this jersey, you don't just give it to anybody willy-nilly.
yeah. Mm,
Was it the club that said that nah, this is our British player, he needs to
mm,
don the number 7? These are questions I'm asking myself, D. I'm asking
mm.
myself these questions, thinking, is our manager really in control? Because I keep seeing him sort of deteriorate. I'm seeing signs of 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 of, of things that have happened in the past. And I'm now like, and I'm just seeing the fans and everybody turning against the manager. And I'm just seeing it like, this is something that I've seen before. Not
Mm,
once, but twice, a couple of times. This is just a repeat.
yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I
I
don't know if
think
you
he
have
should have.
anything to add.
Yeah, I think with the Mount thing, I think you should have done more to earn that number. You know, when Cavani
bro.
came and donned it, it's Cavani. You know what I mean? There's no question about should he wear it or not. But Mason Mount, yes, he was a good player for Chelsea, but he hasn't been a prolific player over the course of his career thus far, you know. So it didn't really warrant anything. And you know, when you come and you disrupt culture like that, like how Eric
Bro,
Ten Hag has done it, it's taboo. You know what I mean? And
taboo.
I don't know if it's him trying to like break the culture or
D,
not give
do you
so much
think it's
pressure to the
Eric Ten
number
Hag?
seven. But at the end of the day, Ben, the thing is, the reason why I'm not sure is
Eh,
because the people who are running this club don't know anything about football. You understand what I'm saying? They don't know. So for them to come and suggest Mount should wear number seven, from what point of view are they even going to come and put such a ridiculous statement? You understand? Because these managers and owners, whatever, they're Americans. What do Americans know about Manchester United and number seven? Look, obviously, I'm not trying to say that anyone outside of England does not
eh,
understand the culture, because I mean we are not British. But I think you sort of get my point, because we know
I do.
the Glazers how they are. You
Yeah,
know what I mean, and
yeah.
how and what their affiliation is towards football. You know, so and again, I just don't see, man, I don't get it, because even the people who are behind the marketing and whatever, for the club, I still can't imagine how they would they would they would co-sign or sign or give off like, yeah, Mount should get the number seven. You get what I
Bro,
mean?
I don't
And here's a
think Eric Ten Hag is
and
anything to do with that.
and here's another thing. And here's the last thing I want to say is because look, and I said I'm not gonna say this, you know what I mean? And this is the last time I'm gonna say it, right? I back the manager. And this is officially the last time I'm going to say it. If I criticize the manager too much and you people think that I want him sacked, that's your problem. But that was officially the last time I'm saying that. Now, with that being said, here's what I'm going to say. I think us United fans who back this manager, we back him to a point of blindness. Like we blind back him up, right? In the sense of we do not want to accept some of the poor decisions that he has made, because we sort of give him this blind trust. You understand? And this for me is a typical example, you know, where we go and have his back for no reason at all, but just for the fact that because we back him, you know. This thing of saying, um, I don't think it's Eric Ten Hag who gave him the number seven. You know why? You understand what I mean? Like I again, like when you look at everything, Ben, you know, if I don't think Ten Hag if man, I don't even know how to explain it. If Ten Hag strongly felt that Mount should not get the number seven, and he understood the reason why Mount shouldn't wear the number seven, Mount wouldn't be wearing the number seven. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Mm.
For the reason that Mount is wearing number seven, for me that's down to the manager. You understand? For me, that's down to Ten Hag said it's fine. He can don the number seven. He can wear it. I don't think anyone in the club has got that say about who wears jersey numbers. That thing, I believe, is a dressing room issue. I believe it's between the manager and the players. I don't believe it's got anything to do with the director of football, the finance team, the marketing saying, no, it's going to be good for market. No, I think that's in the dressing room. You understand? And I 100% believe that Ten Hag said you're gonna be my number seven. Here's the number seven. Or Mount came and asked for it. There was a conversation that was had, and it was agreed upon. Him having that number seven. Do you get what I'm saying? Ten Hag is not prone to not make mistakes. He's human. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that there's some things that Ayrton Hag does, and we sort of just want to back him just for the sake of back him, because we're scared if we talk against him, it's like we want him to get sacked or whatever. You know, he
No,
must just own his thing. Like we came out and said, oh, because remember Rashford was starting, right? And now the speculations ran. And now we were thinking that, nah, maybe Rashford is starting because he's British and the club and the this. And then Ten Hag came out and said, I'm starting him because I believe that he's going to turn it around and he's going to get his goal. Do you get what I'm saying? Now it shuts down that
yeah,
conversation of us saying that, Maybe it's not Ten Hag. Maybe it's the club that are forcing Ten Hag to start Rashford. He came out and said, "Nah, this is on me." Do you get what I mean? So even with this number seven thing,
Yeah.
fam, and not to like disrespect to disrespect your opinion or whatever. I 100% hear where you're coming from and everything. But I'm just saying, in my opinion, that I think that decision was made between the manager and the player. I don't think anyone in that club came and had an overpowering decision to say Mount should wear it because of publicity, whatever. Nah, that for me is just it's one of those lists. It's one of those things that keeps getting added to the list of Ten Hag mistakes that he needs to start correcting. You know, otherwise he's going to end up getting himself sacked. Literally, he's going to get himself sacked if he's going to continue this way.
All right. Now, all well and good, man. I totally understand you and I hear you. But like for me, I'm just seeing that there are questions because it makes no sense. Like I
Mm.
just don't understand. Just like how you don't think that the man like everybody else had a decision in this. I just don't think the manager had full control over the decision for that number seven. Now that is just another completely different topic. But I wanted to address something that you mentioned when you said that we that support the manager, we blindly support him without like we're afraid of
Some,
criticizing him.
yeah.
Just yeah, I want to correct
Mm.
that. I back the manager purely because this man is a football manager. That's 100. That's the first thing, and he's a disciplinarian. He has brought change, whether we like it or not. He has brought some sort of stability and some sort of structure at Manchester United. Qualities that we've been lacking for years, for years. And it's unfortunate. Ever since Alex Ferguson left, the behavioral culture at Manchester United just went with him. Like we were disorganized things. So one of the things that I give him credit is trying to instill that. Unfortunately, football these days doesn't allow managers to. You need to produce there and there, and this is where I am like, listen, if that's the culture that we are going, if that's the mentality that we need, that you want, fine, go ahead. We are gonna have 20 managers in a space of 5 years, if that's what you guys want, because it's never gonna change. Now we finally bring somebody who, despite everything that is going on around the club, the drama, we can still have somebody that can focus on the football. Something that we were now, unfortunately for the manager right now, it's just he doesn't have the time. I don't know what's going on. He's not getting his team together. But remember, other managers were given time as well. Arteta, people wanted his head, and I hate using Arteta, but it is they make like these stories are very similar in people giving up on the manager without him yet fulfilling what he can actually do. I don't know if people are out for blood for him right now, like in the sense that they really want him gone. And if they do, like, have they thought about who can come in? Which manager right now in their right mind wants to come into this mess? You know? So, yes, I when it comes to that, I am backing him because I believe that if we give him chance, like if we give him time, like we gave time to Ole. Remember, we talked about this back in the day. We're like, let's give Ole his he first came in as an interim. We're like, nah. Then let's give him his season and that other season. Let's see what he does. We gave him that opportunity. And then when he got who came in after, I think it was Rani. I think Rani came to finish off or something like that. Carrick or whatever. We had a couple of whatevers that were going on between them. Now we finally go after this manager that has been doing well. Obviously, he's coming. Like, why are people not paying attention to the context? We are forgetting the like. That's what I'm saying. Football right now is just demand, demand, demand. If your team is losing and other teams are winning, people are not seeing anything. They're not seeing all the things that have been cultivated coming up until this point. His decision making, his substitutions, those things are put into question 100%. We are here talking about that. We're not blindly believing the nonsense that he's telling us. Benching Varane for Evans because of tactical reasons. Are you kidding me? What tactical reasons? Is Varane fit? Come on, make sense. Make it make sense. We are questioning him. His substitutions. We're questioning him. late substitutions, keeping Rashford when he's doing focal. We are questioning that. Mason Mount and all this, we are questioning that. You understand? But the
Yeah.
football thing, like what people need to understand why we back him up is because we have finally gotten a manager who has a foundation in football, who has football pedigree. With whatever that is going on, he can always try. Unlike having an Ole there, like having somebody that's just going to kiss ass, just going to be like, yes, man, just at least. Now, maybe it's not good enough right now because things are just going mad, but I still believe we need to back him. And that's why I back him. That's one of the reasons why I back him. I don't blindly back him because uh I'm not afraid. Nah, it's not even about that.
All right. So let me clarify. So when I was
Yeah,
saying blindly backing, I wasn't saying
yeah,
blindly backing him as a manager. No. What I was
yeah.
saying is we blindly back him in this. There's some decisions where we blindly back him. And I say, why are we blindly backing him? Like why can't we believe that he did make that mistake? Why can't we believe that it's on him? Why are we trying to justify that specific bad decision he made? You get what I mean?
Mm,
So I'm not saying we're
mm,
blindly backing him just because, oh, it's Eric Ten Hag, I'm just going to back him without no substance or context.
mm.
No. I'm saying that we back him and we have our reasons. But we
Yeah,
back him to a far extent that in some decisions we're completely blind to it. And we're like, but why? Why are you just blindly backing this decision? A classic example I'm gonna give before we wrap up this episode and we actually start our Ten Hag episode, because there's a lot to speak about this matter. The Weghorst situation is one
mm,
of those ones where it took me time to wake up from this. That's an example of me blindly backing him, where I backed him to the point of, why are you backing him? Do you get what I mean? Because he brought in this striker. He gave us his reasons why. We trusted that and remember, this is off Ronaldo leaving, because there was that clash and we needed goals, like we've always needed goals at the club. Luckily, Rashford had a miraculous season last season. But if Rashford never had a miraculous season last season, we could have been having a whole different conversation about Ten Hag and Weghorst. Weghorst and Ten Hag survived thanks to Rashford. They survived critique thanks to Rashford. If Rashford did not have his flying season last season and was struggling for goals like we're struggling for goals now, this that that single decision that he made last season for bringing back Weghorst would have been blown out of proportion, because Weghorst was brought in as a striker because we didn't have a striker. Weghorst was brought in to score goals. If you're a striker, you're brought in to score goals. You're not brought in for work rate. You're not brought in because you recover balls. You're not brought. No, you're brought in to score goals. The same way we've been criticizing Onana, that has been brought in to save goals, is the same way we need to criticize strikers because they're brought in to score goals. You understand? Later
yeah.
on during the season, I'm like, no, 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 no. This signing was actually bullshit. You understand what I mean? This was a bullshit signing because he came through, he never scored any goals for us. I think he ended that season scoring, I think, one or two, maybe three at the most. But that was a wasted loan signing. Now, however it came about, I know now, listen, obviously I've forgotten everything around it. But I'm pretty sure there's stories that are gonna come in.
I was
Now,
literally about to say, D, have you forgotten how we
now,
got
now,
to Mount Vegas?
Now, no. Listen, I know obviously the stories are gonna come in, and I know they're valid. You know, of he came in because we wanted this one, we couldn't get him. Da 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 da. It's the usual dance. You get what I'm saying? It's the usual.
But wait,
It's
are you
almost.
denying it? Are
I'm
you
not
saying that it
denying it.
doesn't?
Look,
Okay,
I'm not denying it. I'm not denying. That's why I said they're valid. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah. Mm,
But the manager kept insisting playing Weghorst. Do you get what I'm
mm,
saying? He insisted
mm.
playing him, and he was being
Did
covered
we have a fit number 9, D?
Because Rashford we didn't. But what I'm saying is Rashford continued scoring goals. Do you get what I'm saying? The
Mm,
same way he did the makeshift with putting Rashford number 9 and all that, we had the players, Ben. United have always had the players, which Ten Hag has refused to start. You get what I mean? He has refused. Even this season, we've had number 7s, which he refused to start after Sancho created beef. After Anthony went away from allegations, he still refused to start Pelestri. He started him for like a game or two. Now we don't even know where Pelestri is. We don't know if he's even back in Uruguay. Do you get what I'm saying? these are the situations where I'm saying that instead of just coming out, and I'm not saying we should go out and attack him or whatever, but I'm just saying like we're scared to just say what it is. Do you get what I mean? And we sort of
No,
want to justify and like, you know what I mean? So he doesn't take the heat. You get what I'm saying? And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. When you do that, it doesn't mean you don't back the manager. It doesn't mean that you don't want to get the manager sacked or whatever. But I'm just saying that sometimes he makes decisions and it's like we're scared to call him out on them because we feel that the fan base think we're against him, you know? And that's what I'm talking about, where some of these blind backings come from. It's like, look, if it's fucked up, it's fucked up. Why are we trying to justify it? You know, I'm not
you
saying
know
that
what
there's
it
some
is?
situations where I'm not saying there's some situations where they are justifiable, but there's some situations where it's like, why are we even trying to justify this? He fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why
Listen,
are we
G,
backing him in this decision?
G, I totally hear you and I understand you. But I think it's a little bit unfair to put that on Ten Hag the way you put it. Because the way I see it, that signing, he didn't want that signing. That was just the signing that he had to make to fill in. Like, I look at it as the circumstances are. They couldn't find the player that he wanted. I think João Felix couldn't get him. I don't know which other striker that he wanted, couldn't get him. Bobo was the only one there available. And by the time, at that time, he had a very good record at Besiktas, where he was on loan from Burnley. He was scoring goals. So he was like, Netherlands. And mind you, I think World Cup, prior to the World Cup, he did something. You know, he had a good World Cup, Nyana. So the signs were there. He scored against Argentina, I think. The equalizer thing, what. However, the signs were there. I think what the problem is, which I think where I'm trying to understand you is the manager, yes, made, let's just say he took the blame for saying that this he made the signing, which I don't believe. I believe it was one of those things or like he's the player available, which is what I'm questioning right now. Are some of the signings that he's making the ones that he wants, that he needs? Because if they were, I don't think we would have had Vekos. I don't think so. You understand? Now it goes back into the whole thing about money, blah blah blah. But we don't want to talk about that because it's like we are, you know what I mean? We ignore it,
You
but
know
it's
what?
there.
Okay,
Wait,
okay,
wait,
okay.
and then, and sorry, and then, oh, took my train of thought.
So I
Bobo comes
distracted
in,
you.
he does his bit, whatever. The manager, the way he gave confidence about Bobo, about Wout Vegas, is the reason why maybe we are. It looks like we were. It took time for us to actually realize that this was a flop signing. Do you understand? Because he kept giving us confidence that this guy is like this. The way he spoke about him, our manager has a way of speaking about these players where we think that okay, these players are supposed to go and do this. When they don't do it, we start asking ourselves these questions like, wait, what is going on? And about Vegas, it was very quick to see that what you are telling us about Wout Vegas is not what we are seeing. This guy is not as prolific as you are saying. He doesn't score goals as much as you are saying. And at that time, the signing has already been made. This guy is going to be fit for the rest of the season. He's going to keep on running, adding. Man, let's give Wout Vegas credit against Barcelona when he played that number 10, number 9 position thing. He was very brilliant. Now, if you think about that, and then yeah, he didn't score as much goals. But you look at that particular fixture, he did very well. Now, it's just one of those things, D. I honestly think it is unfair
Okay,
to like go on the manager in that kind of sense because I still don't believe there are some signings that are just questionable. D. That's how I see it.
all right, okay, okay. I hear you, and let's wrap this episode, and we'll continue the Ten Hag episode. All right. I just
All
want to
right.
wrap this episode because it was supposed to be a match reaction, and we spoke like probably 20% about the match itself. Apologies for that. Next match we'll try to do better in terms of sticking on topic and actually, you know what I mean, delivering what we're supposed to deliver on. Um,
It's good, man. It's
yeah,
a
well,
reaction. They had
well,
to feel
it's
the
you know
raw.
I get it's a reaction, but I think this was
Yeah.
was supposed to talk more. Was supposed to talk on the match. Do you get what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? Like I'm
Yeah.
taking the blame. I went off track when I was not supposed to go off track. You know, when we talk about the game, we talk about the game. You know, these other things, you know, they can be spoke about completely separately because you know we're supposed to dissect this game, what went wrong, which we failed to do completely. We did talk some about it, but we just went off on doing our own thing. So let me just try end this thing like this, right? This game was poor. All right, we left Haaland unmarked. Schoolboy defending, right? We allow them to have more. Anyway, it's understandable given the type of team Man City is compared to us, but I still feel like the possession should have been at least closer. They had 10 shots on target. We had 3. They had 21 attempts at goal. We had 7. You know, touches obviously, passes are obviously going to be double more than us. My point is, we were playing at home. This was a derby. Regardless of anything, we should have given more heart into that game. Substitutions should have come in much more earlier. Players who started shouldn't have started just because you want to reward people for having good games against teams that they are supposed to be having good performances against. You understand? But doesn't mean that it qualifies them to becoming and what you call this, and facing these harder opponents. So with that being said, I think even though we lost, there's a lot that United can take away from this match. There's a lot that the manager can take away from this match. It sort of gives them a better understanding where we exactly are in terms of rankings. It makes the fans understand that we are nowhere close to the big boys. You know what I mean? It makes us understand that this is not a quick fix. This is a project and it's going to take time for us to get to the same level, or to us to get back to that level of Arsenal, City, even Spurs, Liverpool. It's going to take time. This thing is not going to happen overnight. We need to back our manager. We need to support our manager. We need this team needs a rebirth. A lot of players need to leave this team. A lot of new players need to come into this team. A new philosophy needs to just be reborn, because it's just no way it's going to happen with some of these players that we've had basically since Moyes. You understand that we're still trying to get rid of. Getting rid of this manager is not going to help us in any way possible. But yes, the derby ended 3-0. We wish we could have got a result. We're playing Newcastle this week in, I think it's FA Cup or Carabao, and then I think weekend we're playing Fulham or something like that. But we'll definitely get into that. But with that being said, that's our match reaction. I don't know if you got any last remarks towards the match that you want to talk about. All right, so we're going to end over here. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Glory Reds podcast, and we'll catch you guys in which seems going to be a very heated discussion on Ten Hag. So make sure to catch that episode as soon as you're done listening to this one, and we out. Peace.